Florzak stomped his tentacles in frustration as he entered the break room of Galactic Incorporated's headquarters. The Xylithian's eye stalks quivered with barely contained rage as he made his way to the nutrient dispenser. "Those insufferable humans," he bellowed, startling his co-worker Gleep, who nearly dropped her cup of steaming ooze brew. "What's got your cilia in a twist this time?" Gleep asked, her gelatinous form rippling with curiosity. Florzak's outer membrane flushed a deep purple as he recounted his latest encounter. "It's that new transfer from Earth, Daphne Corkwater. She's impossible to work with." Gleep's central eye widened. "The bipedal one with the colorful head fur? What did she do? What didn't she do?" Florzak's tentacles flailed dramatically. "I left my lunch in the quantum refrigerator, clearly labeled with my name. But when I went to retrieve it, I found this instead." He produced a small, yellow square of paper from one of his utility pouches. Gleep leaned in, her optical sensors focusing on the neat handwriting. "Dear Tentacle Guy, thanks for the delicious meal. I was starving, and your kindness really made my day. Maybe next time, try writing your name a bit bigger so there's no confusion." Smiley face. "Zoxo, not Florzak." Gleep's form wobbled with suppressed laughter. "That's certainly an interesting approach." "Interesting?" Florzak's voice rose several octaves. "It's infuriating, and it's not just the food. Last week, I found one of these notes on my hover chair saying, 'Wow, you must be really important to take up 2 parking spaces. Your greatness is truly inspiring.'" As Florzak continued his rant, more alien co-workers filtered into the break room, each with their own tales of bewildering encounters with the human staff. Zrixel, a crystalline entity, chimed in with a high-pitched whine. "You think that's bad? I found one of those adhesive squares on my workstation terminal yesterday. It said, 'Your coding skills are amazing. I've never seen anyone use so many lines to accomplish so little.' Efficiency is overrated, right?" The break room erupted into a cacophony of complaints and anecdotes, each alien trying to outdo the others with their stories of human passive-aggressiveness. Amidst the chaos, nobody noticed the small group of humans huddled in the corner, sipping their coffee and exchanging knowing smiles. Daphne Corkwater, her vibrant blue hair tied back in a messy bun, leaned in to whisper to her colleague, Milo Snarkington. "Operation Post-it Pandemonium is going exactly as planned. How long do you think it'll take before they crack?" Milo's eyes twinkled with mischief. "Give it another week. By then, they'll be begging for a staff meeting to address human communication issues." As the alien chatter grew louder, Daphne couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity might be the new kids on the galactic block, but they were proving that sometimes the pen, or in this case, the sticky note, was mightier than the sword. Little did the aliens know, this was just the beginning. The humans had a whole arsenal of office supplies and passive-aggressive tactics up their sleeves, and they were just getting warmed up. The galactic workplace was about to get a lesson in the fine art of subtle warfare, and humanity was more than ready to teach it. As the Galactic Standard Week progressed, the atmosphere at Galactic Incorporated grew increasingly tense. The once orderly office had transformed into a colorful battlefield, with humans wielding their secret weapon, an endless supply of sticky notes in every shade imaginable. Daphne Corkwater sat at her desk, a smug smile playing on her lips as she watched Florzak attempt to navigate the sea of neon paper adorning his workstation. His tentacles trembled as he peeled off note after note, each one more bewildering than the last. "Great job on that report, big guy. I especially loved how you used capital letters for emphasis. It really drives the point home." Read one fluorescent pink square. "Wow, your desk is so organized. I can totally see the floor under all those stacks of papers," proclaimed another in eye-searing yellow. Florzak's eye stalks drooped in defeat as he slumped into his hover chair, accidentally crushing a bright green note that cheerfully declared, "Your unique sitting posture is an inspiration to us all. Ergonomics are for losers. Am I right?" Across the office, Milo Snarkington was engaged in what appeared to be a one-sided conversation with Zrixel, the crystalline entity. In reality, he was strategically placing post-its on various facets of Zrixel's body as he spoke, each note containing a compliment on the alien's brilliant reflective surface. You know, Zrixel, Milo mused, slapping a blue note onto what he assumed was the alien's shoulder. I've always admired how you light up the room. It's like working next to a disco ball. Zrixel's crystalline structure vibrated in what might have been a sigh, causing several of the notes to flutter to the ground. As they fell, more humans swooped in, armed with pens and fresh pads of sticky paper, ready to replace them with even more creative messages. Meanwhile, in the executive suite, CEO Glorpax Vex, a towering, multi-limbed being from the planet Nexa 9, was facing his own sticky situation. His entire office door was plastered with a rainbow of notes, forming a crude but enthusiastic mosaic that spelled out world's okayest boss. As Glorpax attempted to enter his office, dislodging a flurry of paper in the process, he was met with a chorus of human voices exclaiming, "OPS, we were just trying to brighten up the place. Don't you feel more appreciated now?" The CEO's exoskeleton paled to a sickly shade of beige as he retreated, muttering something about mandatory cultural sensitivity training and HR nightmares. In the IT department, the situation had escalated to new heights. Gleep, the gelatinous tech expert, found herself surrounded by a fort constructed entirely of sticky notes. Each time she absorbed one to read the message, two more seemed to take its place. Have you tried turning it off and on again? No? Well, there's your problem. One note helpfully suggested. Your troubleshooting skills are out of this world. And by out of this world, we mean non-existent, another chimed in. As the day wore on, the aliens found themselves increasingly paralyzed by the onslaught of passive-aggressive positivity. Simple tasks became Herculean efforts as they waded through layers of adhesive commentary. Productivity ground to a halt as more and more time was spent deciphering the true meaning behind each sickeningly sweet message. In the midst of the chaos, Daphne and Milo met in the supply closet for a clandestine strategy session. Surrounded by towers of post-it pads and markers, they couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. "I never thought I'd say this," Daphne whispered, her eyes gleaming with triumph. "But I'm actually grateful for all those passive-aggressive roommates I had in college. Who knew those skills would save humanity?" Milo nodded sagely, reaching for another pack of neon sticky notes. "It's like my grandma always said, kill them with kindness. And if that doesn't work, smother them with sticky notes." As they emerged from the closet, arms laden with fresh supplies, they were met with the sight of their alien co-workers in various states of confusion and distress. Florzak was tangled in a string of posts. Zrixel's usually brilliant surface was dulled by a layer of paper, and Gleep had begun to take on the color of the notes she had inadvertently absorbed. The humans exchanged knowing glances. Phase 2 of Operation Post-it Pandemonium was complete. Now it was time to kick things up a notch. After all, they hadn't even begun to exploit the full potential of Comic Sans and clip art yet. As Daphne and Milo dispersed to brief their human colleagues on the next stage of their plan, the office buzzed with a mixture of alien despair and human determination. The sticky note revolution was in full swing, and there was no turning back now. As the Galactic Standard Month wore on, the humans at Galactic Incorporated escalated their passive-aggressive campaign to unprecedented levels. What had started as a simple sticky note operation had evolved into a full-blown psychological warfare, with Post-its serving as the primary weapon of choice. Daphne Quirkwater stood before a secret gathering of human employees in the rarely used anti-gravity storage room, her blue hair crackling with static electricity. "All right, team," she announced, her voice low but intense. "It's time to kick this operation into overdrive." Milo Snarkington nodded emphatically, nearly dislodging the ridiculous number of pins tucked behind his ears. "We got them on the ropes. Now it's time to go for the knockout." The assembled humans leaned in, eagerly awaiting their new marching orders. "First order of business," Daphne continued, pulling out a holographic display. "We're introducing themed days. Today is Motivational Monday. I want to see nothing but the cheesiest, most CRINGWRTHY motivational quotes plastered everywhere." A collective groan of delight rippled through the group. The next morning, The alien staff of Galactic Incorporated arrived to find their workplace transformed into a technicolor nightmare of forced positivity. Florzak's desk was barely visible beneath a sea of neon paper. Each note bore a message more teeth-grittingly upbeat than the last. "Hang in there, baby," accompanied by a picture of a kitten dangling from a branch. "Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars." Which, given your jello-like physiology, might be problematic. Teamwork makes the dream work. And by dream, we mean soul-crushing corporate monotony. The Xylithian's eye stalks drooped in despair as he realized he'd have to read and remove each note before he could even begin his workday. Meanwhile, Zrixel found his crystalline form festooned with paper chains of interconnected sticky notes, each link bearing a single word that, when read in sequence, formed maddeningly chipper phrases. "Your attitude determines your altitude. Guess that explains why you were always to the ground." The normally stoic being emitted a high-pitched keening sound that caused several nearby windows to crack. In the executive suite, CEO Glorpax Vex was confronted with a wall of post-its arranged in the shape of a giant smiley face. The teeth of the smile were individual notes, each bearing a message about turning that frown upside down and leading with positivity. As Glorpax attempted to swat away the paper monstrosity, he triggered a cascade of even smaller notes hidden behind the first layer. These fluttered down around him like confetti, each one reminding him to smile. It enhances your face value. The CEO's exoskeleton cycled through a rainbow of distressed colors before settling on a queasy puce. But the humans weren't done yet. Oh no, they were just getting started. Tuesday brought Time Management Tuesday, where every alien received a meticulously detailed schedule of their day, broken down into 5-minute increments. Each time slot was accompanied by a passive-aggressive note about productivity and efficiency. 9:05 a.m. to 9:10 a.m. Stare blankly at computer screen. Really give it your all. 1:30 p.m. to 1:35 p.m. Coffee break. Try not to absorb the entire pot this time, Gleep. Wednesday ushered in Wellness Wednesday, with sticky notes extolling the virtues of self-care and work-life balance plastered on every available surface. The break room was transformed into a pastel-colored hellscape of mindfulness mantras and yoga poses incompatible with most alien physiologies. By Thursday, which the humans had dubbed Thankless Thursday, the alien staff was on the verge of a collective nervous breakdown. Every task they completed was met with a barrage of sticky notes offering backhanded compliments and constructive criticism. "Wow, you filed those reports so quickly. It's almost like you didn't read them at all. Your presentation was breathtaking, mainly because it went on so long, we all nearly passed out." As the week neared its end, Daphne and Milo observed the fruits of their labor from the relative safety of the human sector. Alien productivity had ground to a halt as their co-workers spent more time deciphering passive-aggressive notes than actually working. "I almost feel bad for them," Milo mused, absent-mindedly doodling a smiling sun on a fresh sticky note. Daphne nodded, a glint of something almost like sympathy in her eyes. "Yeah, almost. But remember what's at stake here. If we don't assert our place in this company, we'll be literally relegated to the waste extraction department. And I don't know about you, but I didn't spend 4 years getting my degree in Xenocommunications to end up shoveling alien poop." Milo shuddered at the thought. "You're right. We've come too far to back down now. What's the plan for tomorrow?" A slow, wicked grin spread across Daphne's face. "Oh, just you wait. I call it Feedback Friday. We're going to revolutionize the concept of the employee survey." As the human conspirators finalized their plans for the week's grand finale, the aliens of Galactic Incorporated huddled together in small groups, whispering frantically about the sticky onslaught. They knew that something had to give, but none of them could have predicted just how spectacularly things would come to a head. Little did they know, Feedback Friday would push everyone to their breaking point, human and alien alike, in ways no one could have anticipated. The dawn of Feedback Friday broke over Galactic Incorporated's headquarters, casting an ominous glow through the photosensitive windows. The alien staff approached the building with a mixture of dread and resignation. their various appendages clutching comfort objects from their home worlds. Florzak nervously stroked his lucky tentacle warmer as he approached his desk, bracing himself for whatever fresh horror the humans had concocted. He was not disappointed. His entire workstation had been transformed into a giant suggestion box, constructed entirely of interconnected sticky notes. Each note posed a question more bewildering than the last. On a scale of mildly inconvenienced to contemplating interstellar exodus, how would you rate your job satisfaction? If you could describe your work ethic using only Earth animal sounds, which would you choose and why? In the event of a sudden reversal of the space-time continuum, how quickly could you adapt your TPS reports to be submitted yesterday? Florzak's eye stalks quivered in confusion as he attempted to make sense of the bizarre inquiries. He reached out a tentative tentacle to peel off one of the notes, only to reveal another layer underneath with even more perplexing questions. Across the office, Zrixel was facing his own sticky predicament. The crystalline being found himself surrounded by a forest of post-it note trees, each branch bearing a different performance metric that seemed to have been conjured from the depths of human absurdity. Number of times you've literally outshone your co-workers. Please provide specific lumens. Percentage of meetings spent pretending to take notes versus actually paying attention. Ratio of coffee consumed to coherent thoughts produced show your work. Zrixel's usually brilliant surface dulled to a confused matte finish as he tried to calculate these impossible metrics. Meanwhile, in the executive suite, CEO Glorpax Vex was confronted with his own personalized feedback nightmare. His entire office had been wallpapered with an enormous flow chart made entirely of sticky notes. Each decision point led to increasingly absurd outcomes. Are you happy with your leadership style? Yes, clearly you're delusional. Proceed to the denial cube for recalibration. Do you feel you effectively communicate with your team? No. Congratulations on your self-awareness. Your prize is another 7-hour meeting about synergy. Every attempt to remove a note only revealed more layers of snarky feedback beneath. Glorpax's exoskeleton paled to an almost translucent shade as he realized there was no escape from the passive-aggressive inquisition. In the IT department, Gleep found herself engulfed in a sticky note whirlpool of technical jargon and human idioms. How many bugs have you squashed this week? Literal insects do not count. On a scale of have you tried turning it OFF and on again to summoning elder tech gods, how would you rate the complexity of your average troubleshooting call? Gleep's gelatinous form quivered with frustration as she tried to absorb the meaning behind these indecipherable queries. As the day wore on, the alien staff's confusion gave way to outright frustration. Productivity plummeted to negative levels as they spent hours trying to navigate the labyrinth of feedback forms and surveys. In the human sector, Daphne and Milo watched the chaos unfold with a mixture of glee and apprehension. I think we might have overdone it, Milo whispered, his eyes wide as he observed Florzak tangled in a chain of sticky notes, wailing in distress. Daphne nodded, a hint of concern creeping into her expression. Yeah, this is getting a bit out of hand. Maybe we should dash. Her words were cut off by a sudden, ear-splitting shriek that reverberated through the entire building. The sound was followed by a series of thuds, crashes, and what could only be described as the noise of several alien species simultaneously losing their cool. OSHIT, Daphne muttered, grabbing Milo's arm. I think we just hit the tipping point. As they peered out from their hiding spot, they saw Glorpax Vex storming through the office, his multiple limbs flailing wildly, sending sticky notes flying in all directions. Behind him, a wave of alien employees followed, each in various states of post-it-induced madness. Florzak had fashioned a makeshift sticky note armor and was charging through the cubicles, shouting incomprehensible battle cries. Zrixel had gone into some sort of reflective overdrive, bouncing laser-focused beams of light off his crystalline surface to incinerate any sticky note in sight. Gleep had absorbed so many notes that her usually transparent form was now a swirling kaleidoscope of neon colors and half-legible human phrases. The scene was one of utter chaos, a pastel-colored apocalypse of office supplies and alien hysteria. Daphne and Milo exchanged a look of dawning realization. Their plan had worked almost too well. They had pushed the aliens to the brink, but in doing so, they might have jeopardized the very jobs they were trying to secure. As the sticky note rebellion reached its frenzied peak, with aliens and humans alike caught in the crossfire of flying paper and unleashed frustrations, Daphne knew they had to act fast. "Quick!" she hissed to Milo, reaching for an emergency stash of extra sticky notes. "We need to find a way to yindy this before it's too late." Little did they know, the solution to their predicament would come from the most unexpected source, leading to a conclusion that would reshape the dynamics of Galactic Incorporated forever. The Galactic Incorporated office had devolved into a scene of utter chaos. Sticky notes whirled through the air like a polychromatic snowstorm, while aliens of various species either cowered under desks or lashed out in post-it-induced rage. Amidst the mayhem, Daphne Quirkwater and Milo Snarkington huddled behind an overturned hover desk, desperately trying to formulate a plan to end the madness they had unwittingly unleashed. "We gotta do something!" Milo shouted over the cacophony of alien shrieks and tearing paper. "This is way beyond passive-aggressive now. We're talking full-on aggressive-aggressive." Daphne nodded, her blue hair plastered to her forehead with sweat. I know. But what? We can't exactly apologize our way out of this one." Suddenly, a booming voice cut through the chaos, causing everyone, human and alien alike, to freeze in their tracks. "Enough!" All eyes turned to the source of the command. There, standing atop a mountain of crumpled sticky notes, was none other than the company's custodian, Old Jim. The ancient human, who had been with Galactic Incorporated since its founding, surveyed the scene with a mixture of amusement and exasperation. "In all my years," Old Jim began, his gravelly voice carrying an unmistakable note of authority, "I've seen a lot of interstellar nonsense. But this takes the cake." The office fell silent. Even CEO Glorpax Vex's multiple mouths snapping shut in unison. Old Jim slowly made his way down from his sticky note pedestal, casually plucking a note from Florzak's makeshift armor as he passed. "Your tentacle coordination is truly remarkable. Have you considered a career in extreme knitting?" He read aloud, chuckling. "Now that's a good one." Florzak's eye stalks swiveled in confusion, unsure whether to be offended or flattered. "You see," Old Jim continued, addressing the room at large, "you've all missed the point. These sticky notes? They're not just annoying pieces of paper. They're a universal language." A collective murmur of bewilderment rippled through the crowd. "Think about it," the old custodian pressed on. "In all my time here, I've never seen you lot communicate so much. Sure, it's been passive-aggressive as all get out, but you've been talking. Really talking." Daphne and Milo exchanged glances, a glimmer of understanding dawning in their eyes. Old Jim picked up another sticky note, this one from Zrixel's desk. "Your radiance is blinding, literally. Have you considered dimming it down for the sake of our retinas?" He guffawed. "See? Honesty. Wrapped up in a joke, sure, but it's there." Zrixel's crystalline surface shimmered with what might have been embarrassment or amusement. It was hard to tell. "And you," Old Jim pointed at Glorpax Vex. "How many boring, long-winded memos have you sent out that nobody reads? But I bet everyone read these." He gestured to the sticky note massacre surrounding the CEO's office. Glorpax's exoskeleton flushed a deep shade of chastised purple. "So here's what we're gonna do," Old Jim announced, his tone brooking no argument. "Everyone, and I mean everyone, is gonna take a sticky note right now. You're gonna write one thing you've wanted to say to someone in this office, but never had the guts to. And then you're gonna stick IT where they can see it." There was a moment of hesitation before, slowly but surely, aliens and humans alike began reaching for the scattered sticky notes. The office filled with the sound of scribbling and the soft pat-pat of adhesive meeting various surfaces. Daphne watched in amazement as Florzak carefully attached a note to her desk. "Your hair is an alarming shade of blue. It reminds me of the beautiful bioluminescent swamps of my homeworld. Thank you for brightening the office." Milo found one stuck to his back. "Your puns are terrible. Never stop making them." Zrixel, Even Glorpax Vex got in on the action, awkwardly attaching notes to each of his own appendages with messages like "Good job, not taking over the galaxy today," and "Remember to use your indoor voices." As the last of the notes were placed, a strange sense of calm settled over the office. Aliens and humans stood side by side, reading messages that ranged from heartfelt compliments to good-natured jabs, all tinged with a newfound understanding. Old Jim nodded in satisfaction. There! Now we're getting somewhere. You see, it's not about being polite all the time. It's about being honest, even if it's a little uncomfortable. That's how you build a real team. Daphne stepped forward, a realization hitting her. So our secret weapon wasn't just annoying everyone into submission. Milo picked up her train of thought. It was forcing us all to actually communicate. Old Jim winked at the pair. Bingo, kids. Sometimes you gotta stir the pot to get to the good stuff at the bottom. As the workday came to a close, Galactic Incorporated had been transformed. Sticky notes still adorned many surfaces, but now they bore messages of genuine feedback, inside jokes, and even the occasional compliment. The office buzzed with conversation as aliens and humans alike discussed the notes they'd received, clearing the air and forging new connections. Daphne and Milo stood by the window, watching the twin suns set over the cityscape. You know, Daphne mused, twirling a sticky note between her fingers. I think we might have accidentally created the galaxy's weirdest team-building exercise. Milo grinned, slapping a note onto her forehead that read, Universe's okayest mastermind. Sometimes, he replied sagely, the best victories are the ones you don't see coming. As night fell on Galactic Incorporated, a new era of communication had begun. And somewhere in the depths of the universe, the cosmic forces that we couldn't help but chuckle at the idea that humanity's greatest contribution to intergalactic peace would be the humble, passive-aggressive sticky note.